Welcome. This is BloombergQuint. We're taking stock of Maruti Suzuki's earnings for the quarter gone by, as well as what we can expect going forward. I'm in conversation with Shashank Srivastava, ED in Marketing and Sales at Maruti Suzuki. Shashank, good morning, and thanks so much for joining in. Let me begin by asking you about how this ongoing quarter is panning out. Of course, we've all heard of the challenges that the quarter gone by did see, but can you give us an update on what's going on ground at this point in time?
Yeah, so as you know, from 4th of May, the new guidelines allowed showrooms to be opened in the non-containment areas. And so we had, of course, with the permission of the local authorities. So we have around 3,100 outlets, out of which about 400 to 450 fall under the containment areas. So of the balance, we have, as of today morning, we have about 1,200 outlets which are open. And we have so far delivered about 3,500 cars already. So that is the status. And I think we see a slight uptick now in terms of the inquiry levels and also the bookings.
Okay, Shashank, can you also give us an update on the current inventory levels with you all, as well as the next person in chain? How do things stand?
Yeah, so at the time when we had the lockdown, remember around 23rd of March, that was the time when all retail stopped. And I think the retail stopped for about a month and maybe 10 days altogether, starting again, as I just mentioned, from time 30 days at the dealer level.
Okay. All right, Shashank, then my next question is to do with digital sales. Can you tell us a little more about the kind of sales registered? In the earnings call, you guys mentioned about 21 touch points, which are already digitalized. What kind of bookings are you seeing? And can you also give us any numbers whatsoever from April to date as far as this particular aspect goes?
Yeah. So actually, this whole thing about the digital journey that I spoke about in the analyst call, it's like we have analyzed that there are about 28 touch points that the customer goes through from the time he thinks of buying a car to the time when he actually takes the delivery of the car. That includes, of course, sometimes a visit to the showroom or calling up the showroom guy or taking a brochure or taking a test drive and so on and so forth. So there are some 20 touch points. So the process of digitalization actually gathering in the last 3 years. And as of now, 17 to 21 of those touch points are already digitized, including, booking and inquiry details, including downloading of information, comparison of products, and so on and so forth. While it was happening for the last 3 years, and Maruti Suzuki was deeply involved in making that digital platform for its customer, there are still, I think, 4 or 5 points, including the financing part, because remember 80% of the auto sales is financing, which is still not on the digital platform. We hope to do it in a short while, of course. And as far as your question about the number of inquiries which are now coming through the web, actually 3 years back it was just 3% of the total inquiries. Last year it ended with about 16%, and in the recent last 2 months, of course, web inquiries were almost 50% of the total inquiries. So I think it's picking up pace, and going forward, I think this COVID incident has made it even more imperative that the pace be quickened on this front.
Fair enough, I understand. Just a question or two more, Shashank. Then I also want to understand a little more about the outlook for some of your more premium products or premium cars or premium, variants. Because from what we understand is that there could be some amount of down trading as well, at least in the near future. How are you reading into this situation?
Yeah, so actually we have been in touch with consumers and also been looking at a lot of research reports and also our own consumer interaction. I think it clearly points out to the fact that you just mentioned, which is a down trading. we call it a transfer of demand, which means that the upper end products demand will probably shift to the middle one, and the middle one towards the lower one, and so on. So it's not a disappearance of demand as much as shifting of demand. And yes, you are right. I think since car purchase is a discretionary purchase, it requires a lot of positive sentiment. And at this moment, I think the sentiments are a little subdued, definitely coming out of this lockdown. And in fact, many consumers still in the lockdown. So I think going forward, I completely agree with this logic that yes, there would be a trading down, and it's reflected actually even in the inquiries that we are receiving in the last few days.
All right. And do you anticipate changing pricing possibly towards the downward end as the company goes ahead and tries to stimulate sales going forward?
Listen, I think I will not be able to give any guidance on the pricing part, but one thing is clear. Even on the lower end, I think there is a great requirement of financing options, like a step-up finance, for example, or a longer tenure finance. Clearly, some banks are also reducing interest rates in response to the reduction in the repo rates, which we witnessed some time back. So I think those will make the cars more affordable, and that is how we see going forward.
Taking us through the various aspects here with the business. Thank you so much for joining us.